Governor, last month we spoke at length about the liquor privatization plan, even answering some questions that were submitted by some beer distributors, including Bess in Newcastle. Well, Bess didn't like the way you answered one of the questions, and she's asking for a clarification on something. Basically, the specific proposal in what was your plan for the beer distributors to pay $150,000 license fee to expand into wine and spirits, but she says into wine, but with the big box stores and other retailers having to only pay a fraction of that. She wants to know why you're hammering the beer distributors so much.
We don't mean to hammer the beer distributors, and the proposal was one that was established now a month and a half, 2 months ago. I can tell you discussions are ongoing daily, hourly on this. We have a hearing on the 18th. Monday. We're talking here on Friday, the Ides of March. That's right. And happy St. Patrick's Day coming up. Parades tomorrow. But the hearing is Monday. There'll be a vote there. I think you'll see something come out of committee. I'm not quite sure exactly what it is. So since this is being taped and played later, I don't know that an answer to her right now is going to make a difference, because it's going to be not completely, somewhat different. I know that. What comes out. There will be a vote on Thursday, the 21st.
But this was in the plan that you were pushing.
It was in the plan.
But why is that so much higher than for them?
Well, we were taking a look at raising funds for the sale of the state liquor store systems. We were adding wine, not liquor, to the big box stores. So there's a difference there. When that $150,000, that would be for wine and liquor in addition to beer. They'd be the only place that could sell all three.
Beer distributors.
Beer distributors.
Okay, so the big box stores and other retailers
wine and
would
beer.
be wine and beer only.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
and in smaller quantities too.
And it sounds like the bottom line through all this is that you are open to compromise on the details of a plan as long as we get to the end of privatizing the state store system.
Absolutely. I mean, you probably heard me say, Matt, a number of times, what goes in at the front end of legislation, what comes out the back end of legislation, necessarily aren't the same thing.
And on Monday, we'll see what that sausage grinder in the middle looks like.
That's exactly right. I'm sure you'll be in there watching that hearing.
I hope to, yeah.
He beat me to that metaphor. All right, let's go to
There's
an email.
others, but we won't go there.
There are. Let's go to an email from Vasu, V-A-S-U. Hope I'm pronouncing that right. I don't know exactly where Vasu is from, but he writes, Governor, I want to start a minority business. Does the state provide any incentives to encourage minorities to start a business?
Well, we provide assistance in doing that to start up a business. Funding assistance is made available. We have what is called the Pennsylvania Minority Business Development Authority, which is a loan program designed to stimulate that creation. So you could say that is assistance, or to expand or to retain a minority-owned business and create jobs in Pennsylvania. The loans are low-interest loans to a minority business that may be unable to fully finance their projects through equity or bank financing. So it's a help in that respect. There's also the writer should also remember the Small Business Administration, the Federal Small Business Administration, is always there to help all small businesses.
All right. I'm going to jump to Marianne in Erie. Marianne wrote in, what made you decide Erie was a rural community? We have 4 universities, 3 hospitals, 4 TV stations, and the list goes on. What a shame for all affected by this. I actually wrote back to Marianne to get some clarification on her question, and she wrote back, she's talking about the reclassification of Erie last year. She says they were classified as an urban community, but Governor Corbett reclassified us as rural, and she says this move was an attempt to justify paying far less in state money for services that affect many people here. First of all, I always ask the basis and the premise of the question, is that true? Did you make a move to reclassify Erie as rural?
Well, Erie was reclassified. There is no rural
it goes by class, right?
It goes by class,
First, second, third.
and it goes by a number of different areas. The areas across Pennsylvania get examined each year by welfare, by law. And they do so using the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, a study on compensation in the area, data from approved cost reports in that area, as applicable, and other independent data sources that are provided for by the Department of Labor Statistics. So it's a process that it has to go through. And they were moved into a lower area than they had been moved in before. It's a yearly basis. We're reviewing that again. This is, trust me, Mary Ann, we've heard quite a bit about this, and we're not trying to insult anybody or anything up there, but we are following laws as to what classification do we give to it based upon the data that represents that area. It's not really based upon the number of education institutions or anything like that.
So it's the process
and it's not just
that made the decision, not the governor himself.
It's not just the city of Erie or the county of Erie. It's the counties surrounding that. And you can, if you've ever been up there, there's a big difference. In fact, you get below Interstate 90, if you want to talk urban, suburban, and rural, it's rural in those areas.